Have you ever stopped to realize that the biggest battle of your life isn't against the world out there? It's against yourself, against your own mind that without you even noticing, sabotages you, creates storms, invents monsters where there were only shadows. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more promises. What you actually need is something nobody really taught you: the art of living in peace. Life is chaotic, unfair, unpredictable, and that's not a mistake. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. Nature never promised happy endings or perfect storylines. The universe doesn't owe you anything. When you truly get that, something shifts inside you. Because most of our disappointments don't come from life itself. They come from the expectations we put on it. We expect everything to be fair, linear, predictable, and then traffic jams, stressed out bosses, unanswered texts, bad news. Every little thing feels like a punch because deep down, we still believe the world is supposed to cooperate with our comfort, but it's not. And honestly, it's because life is unpredictable that it's so fascinating. Freedom starts the moment you stop asking the universe to be different from what it is. The Stoics knew this over 2,000 years ago. While everyone else was crying over spilled milk, they were busy training their minds like silent warriors, not to defeat the world, but to conquer themselves. They trained to focus only on what really matters. They trained to accept that life will hit, hurt, and wreck their plans, and that peace doesn't come from the world being kind. It comes from our ability to stay strong when it's not. Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. Names that survived centuries not because they ruled armies, but because they mastered something even harder: to control their own soul. Seneca taught that most of our suffering doesn't come from what actually happens. It comes from our anxious interpretation of it. He said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest philosophers in history, hammered a simple and brutal lesson. It's not things that disturb us, but the views we take of them. It's not the job loss. It's not the betrayal. It's not the illness. It's the story you build around it, the narrative you tell yourself about your pain. And Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, the man who ruled the most powerful empire in the world, and still wrote daily reminders to himself about humility, courage, and discipline, once wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Stoicism was never meant to be a bunch of pretty quotes for your Instagram bio. It was a brutal, daily practical training. It meant waking up every day and mentally preparing to face loss, insults, delays, illness, betrayal, not with anger, not with self-pity, but with calm. It meant living with the constant awareness that everything you love can be taken from you at any moment, and still choosing to love, to act, to smile. They weren't trying to live a life without pain. They were trying to live a life where neither pain nor pleasure nor fame nor shame could define who they were. Stoicism was, above all, the art of becoming invulnerable without becoming insensitive, of letting go of control over the world, but never letting go of control over yourself, of taking every hit in life not as punishment, but as training. Because to them, every hardship was like another session at the soul's gym. And the question was never, why did this happen to me? But how can I grow from this? This philosophy has survived for centuries because it speaks to something that's never changed. The fact that no matter the time, place, or technology we have, the real battlefield has always been and will always be inside our own minds. And the only victory that truly matters is the one you win over yourself every single day in silence when no one's watching. The first real power you have, and probably the most overlooked, is knowing how to separate what's in your control from what's not. It sounds simple, but most of our suffering comes from mixing the two. We waste energy trying to control how people react, the weather, the outcome of our choices, the past that's already gone, and the future that hasn't even happened yet. Meanwhile, we forget the only thing we actually can control: how we choose to think, feel, and act right now. Epictetus said it straight: some things are up to us, some things aren't. Trying to control what's outside that circle is a guaranteed path to anxiety. You can choose to plant, but you can't control the harvest. You can choose to love, but you can't guarantee being loved back. You can give your best, but you can't control whether or not it'll be recognized. And it's in that space between what you can and can't control that peace hides. Reacting is slavery. Acting is freedom. When you react on autopilot, life pulls your strings like a puppet. Someone pokes you, you explode, and that's exactly what keeps you stuck. But when you learn to act, when you create that tiny space between what happens and how you choose to respond, that's when you actually start living. That space is where freedom lives, and very few people ever get there. Because acting with intention takes training, it takes humility, and it takes a ridiculous kind of courage. The courage not to let your emotions run the show. And speaking of emotions, there's one that silently destroys lives. Unnecessary drama. Let's be honest. How many times have you turned a small issue into a full-blown crisis? A little criticism became a personal attack. A delay became proof that no one respects me. One awkward conversation felt like the end of the world. We're experts at creating storms in a teacup, but you know who always loses in the end? You. Because drama breeds anxiety. Drama fuels resentment. Drama clouds your judgment. And worst of all, drama becomes addictive. And when that happens, living in peace becomes nearly impossible. And if you still need one final push to shift your mindset, remember this. Memento Mori. You will die. I will die. We all will. It might sound harsh, but it's the most necessary reminder there is. Not to depress you, but to wake you up. Because when you truly understand that your time is limited, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop clinging to petty grudges. You stop putting off your dreams, waiting for a perfect day that's never coming. When death becomes part of your daily awareness, life starts to shine differently. Fights lose their weight, victories taste sweeter, and every little moment, even the boring ones, becomes a win just because you're still here, breathing. The reminder of death isn't meant to paralyze you. It's meant to wake you up, to remind you that what matters isn't whether everything goes perfectly, it's whether you'll have the courage to live true to your values even when nothing feels certain. Memento Mori means looking life in the eye and saying, since I'm leaving someday, then let me truly live. The brutal and beautiful truth is the world isn't going to change just to please you. Traffic will still suck. People will still mess up. The weather will still be unpredictable. The algorithm will still be designed to distract you, but you can change. You can be the one who takes a breath when the plan falls apart, who laughs with irony when life gets messy again, who acts with intention in the middle of the chaos, who lives with the awareness that you control almost nothing and finds peace exactly because of that. The art of living in peace isn't some magic trick. It's a daily practice, a conscious choice. It's resisting the urge to dramatize. It's accepting what you can't change. It's acting when everything in you wants to react. It's remembering every day that life is too short to waste on inner wars. You don't need to wait for some big moment to start. You can start today, now. At the next moment, something doesn't go your way. At the next discomfort, the next anxious thought, every tiny instant is an invitation to practice, to train, to build a peace that doesn't depend on the world out there, only on you. And in the end, when the chaos of the world keeps being chaos and you're still standing calm, grounded, clear, that's when you'll finally understand. The real victory was never about changing the world. It was about changing yourself.